You don't deserve a seat at this table." My dad didn't shout. He didn't need to. The room went quiet on its own, as if everyone had been waiting for him to say it out loud. 20 people, family, relatives, a couple of his business friends. Plates full, conversations flowing, until they weren't. And me, standing there with a serving bowl in my hands, suddenly feeling like a guest who had overstayed. No one defended me. My mom kept adjusting her fork, like she hadn't heard. My uncle looked down at his phone. My cousin smirked, then quickly hid it behind a sip of water. "You've done nothing to earn it," my dad continued, calmly cutting into his food. "This table is for people who bring value, not for people who just exist." A few soft laughs, controlled, careful, but loud enough. I stood there, not moving, not because I was shocked, but because something inside me finally settled. This wasn't a bad moment. This was clarity. I could have argued, listed everything I'd been working on, reminded him of the late nights, the risks, the progress he never asked about. But I didn't, because people who measure worth by what they understand will never respect what they don't. And explaining yourself to them, that's just asking for permission. So instead, I nodded, not in defeat, in acceptance. "You're right," I said quietly. That confused them. I saw it in their faces. They expected anger, maybe embarrassment, at least some resistance. Not agreement. I stepped forward like I was going to sit, pulled the chair out halfway, then paused, looked at the table, looked at him, and gently pushed the chair back in. I shouldn't take a seat I didn't earn. I added calm, steady. Now no one was laughing, because they couldn't tell if I had just accepted my place or stepped out of it. I placed the serving bowl back on the counter, untouched, wiped my hands slowly, then turned and walked out. No noise, no slammed doors, no last words, just silence. Behind me, whispers started again. Low, confused, dismissive. They thought I had been put in my place. They thought that moment defined me. They had no idea. I had just decided it wouldn't. Your one click can keep these stories alive. Subscribe, because every voice deserves to be heard. After that night, no one brought it up again. Not directly. At home, things stayed normal on the surface. Family dinners, small talk, routine questions. But something subtle had shifted. The silence around me wasn't peace anymore. It was distance. And I let it stay that way. I stopped explaining myself. Stopped trying to be understood. Stopped expecting approval from people who had already decided who I was. Instead, I focused on work. At first, it didn't look like much from the outside. Just longer hours, earlier mornings, late nights that stretched into mornings again. But internally, everything was changing. I started learning things I had postponed for years. I started taking opportunities one used to hesitate on. I stopped waiting for perfect timing and started building with whatever I had. While they saw me as quiet after that dinner, I was actually the busiest I had ever been. And slowly, things began to shift. Not loudly, not all at once, but enough to notice. Calls started coming in from people I didn't know before. Small projects turned into bigger responsibilities. Names I used to only hear in conversations were now appearing in my inbox. Meanwhile, at home, my father's world started feeling slightly different too. The confidence he carried so easily at that table started meeting resistance elsewhere. Deals that once felt certain began stretching longer than expected. Conversations became more careful, less guaranteed, more uncertain, and the same relatives who laughed that night started asking different kinds of questions. Not directly about me, but close enough. Have you heard what he's doing these days? I think he's been meeting some important people. Something seems different about him lately. Still, I didn't respond to any of it. I didn't return their attention because I wasn't building myself for their curiosity. I was building for something bigger than their understanding. There were nights it got hard, nights where doubt tried to sound like logic, nights where silence felt heavier than any insult I had ever heard. But I kept going, not to prove them wrong, not to win anything back, just to become someone who no longer needed to be measured by that table. Then one afternoon, I overheard something I wasn't meant to hear. My name, in a conversation between two people who used to laugh the loudest that night. But this time, there was no laughter, only uncertainty. They were still talking about me. I was already far ahead of them. Don't miss out on the journey. Subscribe, and let's grow, laugh, and learn together. It happened on a Thursday evening. I didn't even know I was going to be there. It was supposed to be just another meeting, formal introductions, signatures, polite conversations. The kind of room where everyone pretends they already know how the story will end. I walked in quietly, same calm face, same steady pace, no announcement. And then I saw him, my father, sitting across the table with people I didn't recognize, wearing that same controlled confidence he always had when he thought he was in charge of the situation. He didn't see me at first, not until the client walked in. That's when everything changed. The moment the client entered, the energy in the room shifted. He greeted a few people, then paused. His eyes landed on me. A small smile formed. "There you are," he said, like he had been expecting this all along. My father looked up, confused. "You two know each other?" he asked. The client nodded without hesitation. "He's the reason this deal is even on the table." Silence. Not awkward. Heavy. The kind that presses down on everyone at once. My father blinked once, twice, like he had heard it wrong. "I don't understand," he said finally. The client turned slightly toward him. "I only work with people I trust," he said calmly, "and I trust him." That was it. No drama. No explanation needed after that, because the room already understood more than enough. My father leaned back slightly in his chair. For the first time, I didn't see authority in his posture, just uncertainty. The same table, the same people, but suddenly everything had a different weight. He looked at me again, not the way he did that night, not like someone being judged, but like someone trying to understand a missing piece. I didn't speak immediately. I let the silence stay where it was. Then I simply said, "This isn't about seats anymore." A pause. It never was. No anger in my voice. No pride either. Just clarity. The client nodded once, like he agreed, without needing more words. And for the first time, no one tried to interrupt me, because they finally understood. I wasn't trying to sit at their table anymore. I had already built my own place outside it, and that was enough. Silence is not weakness. It is preparation. People judge you in your lowest moment, but respect you in your strongest. Build quietly. Results will speak when words never could.